Hello my good friends, I hope you're all doing just fine. Welcome to the channel Digimon Explained. My name is Jesse, and in this video we are going to be talking about a very known Digimon that does not get nearly as much attention as it normally should. Hopefully with this video there's going to be some change to that. The question now is, how will I start with this video? How will I better introduce this Digimon? I think I have an idea. I'm sure that you are all familiar with the ghost Pokemon Ghastly, Haunter and Gengar, right? Arguably the most popular ghost Pokemon in that franchise. Well, Digimon has its own set of ghost Digimon. And in this case, I'm talking about the champion level ghost Digimon named Bakemon. You heard me right, I call it Bakemon. Actually, I have always called it as such, Bakemon instead of Bakemon. And I'm pretty sure those who are native English speakers would probably call it Bakemon. That would actually be wrong, and I'll be telling you the reason for it in a moment. Let us get into the analysis. Just from its appearance alone, I think it cannot be more obvious that Bakemon has a virus attribute, meaning that it is a Digimon that devours data and is straight up recognized as an evil Digimon that destroys data from computers. That's really its nature, with no redeemable qualities. And because of the presence of virus attributed Digimon, anomalies end up appearing in the system. And Bakemon is no exception to this, as it is said that computers possessed by it have their systems destroyed. It essentially means that Bakemon is doing what a ghost tends to do. It haunts and disrupts. Interestingly, aside of being a virus-attributed Digimon, it also belongs to the Nightmare Soldiers family only. Members of this family field consists of generally demonic or undead Digimon, or those who dwell in haunted areas. And speaking of haunted areas, Bakemon is from the dark area, meaning that it is born in hell. This explains why its body is composed of a fiendish virus program. You see, the dark area is the underworld and located within the deepest part of the net ocean. In this place you will find those Digimon who had their lifespan finished or who were defeated in battle. Well, I'd say that it depends on which dark area we're talking about, as each Digimon universe has their sets of rules. For example, in one dark area, the souls of defeated Digimon are awaiting the judgment of Anubimon to see if they can get reincarnated or get imprisoned within the eternal darkness. But then again, Anubimon has jurisdiction on one particular dark area. All other dark areas have their own sets of rules. That's why we can safely assume that Bakemon exists both in the underworld, where it was born from, as in the upper world, the land of the living. You see, Bakemon essentially is a levitating ghost Digimon. That's why we can see it with the naked eye. However, what many do not know is that its true form is hiding behind the white cloth that is covering it. And it makes sense though. It makes sense that we have troubles finding out its identity, as Bakemon is based on a Japanese mythological creature called Obaki, hence why I called it Bakemon. It's from the Obaki, which is a class of supernatural entity capable of transforming or shapeshifting. Obaki is a word often translated as ghost, but primarily the word refers to living things or supernatural beings who have taken on a temporary transformation, and these creatures are quite distinct from the spirits of the dead. The true appearance or identity of Bakemon will remain a bit of a mystery, as we really have no idea who or what it is, or even what it used to be. Everything within the cloth is wrapped in mystery, and it is rumored that a portion of the shadow of its true form has become a black hole. And I'm pretty sure that this black hole is some entry point to a different dimension. I say that because many in Bakemon's line are either linked to other dimensions or take their powers from other dimensions. Don't worry, what I'm saying will be clear in a moment. Now, while Bakemon is seen as wicked and fiendish, with an identity that is unknown, to my surprise it can still get along quite well with other Digimon. Well, one in particular outside of its own race of Bakemon Digimon. I'm talking about Phantomon, another ghost Digimon. A Digimon I already mentioned before, but not in the video you might think. Let me briefly tell you what I mean. Obviously, when you look at Phantomon, you see a Togemon, Palmon's champion Digivolution. However, in Palmon's Digivolution line video, we did not talk about it there. We talked about Phantomon in the explaining Phantomon Armor Digivolution line video, as Phantomon can armor Digivolve into it by using the Digi-Egg of Sincerity. I'll put both videos, meaning that of Palmon's Digivolution line and that of Phantomon's Armor Digivolution line, in the description box. That way you can check it out for yourself if you haven't already. Phantomon is pretty much the same as Bakemon, meaning that they are both ghosts. However, they do have different origins. It is rumored that when a Togemon has died due to unforeseen circumstances, that it will become Phantomon. I guess that while it was being revived, it got combined with a Latin music distribution program that exists on the network. That's why the Digimon is quite the representation of Latin America, or at least Mexico, especially when we consider the cactus, the poncho, and the sombrero. One of the reasons why Bakemon gets along well with Phantomon is because Bakemon moves to the music of Phantomon. Whenever a Digimon cannot keep up to the beat of Phantomon, then Phantomon will see them as enemies. But as Bakemon has no problem keeping up, they ended up becoming a little duo after realizing that they had music as an important point in common. Now, Bakemon is your typical ghost, meaning that it dislikes direct attacks because its fighting strength isn't great. However, don't be fooled, as it is an expert in indirect attacks, employing curses and magical powers, which will only increase in power once we progress in its Digivolution line. It can, for example, pull a captured enemy all the way to hell with its Dark Claw, or it can cast a powerful death spell on an opponent. A spell said to bring annihilation unless the victim is a possessor of a tenacious spirit. This technique of cursing your opponent with a spell is one not all Bakemon can do. The Bakemon of File Island do not possess this technique, which is very interesting, as it sort of tells that Bakemon do not develop all the same depending on the area they operate. That's probably also why Bakemon has a side form named Soulmon. It's a different Bakemon, as this one began as a Bakemon that took in the data of mages that appeared in fantasy stories, and it ended up also being constructed from a cursed virus program. Now, it is seen wearing a black hat, which has the ability to not just enhance tremendously its magical powers, but also its curses. In this form, it can still pull the captured enemy all the way down to hell, but now it can also drain the enemy's energy. It can drop a huge skull on them, and my favorite, it can now throw the souls of the dead at the enemy. It's a move called Necromagic, and this one is important to stop by. You see, the name Soulmon is very fitting for a Digimon who can throw the souls of the dead at an enemy. That is because Soulmon, unlike Bakemon, became what is known as a necromancer. It's a practice of magic which involves communicating with the dead by summoning their spirits. But pay attention, Soulmon is only at the champion level. It has a mega level who we are going to be talking about in this video, who is an expert necromancer. Some patience, we're going to get into it. Now, when it comes to Bakemon, it has about 3 Digivolution lines it can follow. One will push it to become MYOTISMON, the king of undead Digimon, but as we have already talked about it in its own video, we are going to skip it. The link towards its Digivolution line is in the description box. Another line Bakemon can follow is that of PUMPKINMON, a puppet Digimon who we have also discussed before. The link towards its video is in the description box. And to be honest, while both lines are quite interesting, I did not think they were all too fitting for a Bakemon line anyway. But on the other hand, what is to come now, I believe you all would be very interested. I'd say that Bakemon's official line, based on Bakemon being a ghost and actually continuing being a ghost, would be Phantomon, one who walks around with his trademark sickle and chain. Speaking of this weapon, you see, while the sickle and chain is normally a traditional Japanese weapon that was developed in the Muromachi period, meaning approximately in the years 1336 to 1573, it is ultimately the scythe on Phantomon's weapon that you should be focusing on. That is because, aside of being a Ghost Digimon, Phantomon is also a Reaper-like Digimon, as its design is based on the mythological Grim Reaper, a creature that is in fact the personification of death. Usually the Grim Reaper is depicted as a berobed skeleton wielding a scythe who causes the victim's death by coming to collect that person's soul, and Phantomon is pretty much the same despite being a ghost. It wears a red hooded cape to conceal its face, just like how it did as a Bakemon, and it is also covered in a grey cloth that hides its true form. So it's almost as if Phantomon is trying to represent sort of like the ghost of the Grim Reaper. Oh, and speaking of its clothes, when you look at its hood, there is a skull and a hazard symbol on it. Normally, in the world of Digimon, when there is a hazard symbol, it tends to become none other than the digital hazard, the same symbol which appears on the bodies of certain Digimon, and its presence means that the Digimon has the potential to be highly destructive and, if corrupted, could threaten the very existence of both the digital world and the human world. It's not exactly that symbol that you can find on Phantomon's red hood, however, as it is a virus-type Digimon, and on top of that, as it belongs only to the Nightmare Soldiers family, I think we have enough evidence that the Digimon has dark intentions, a bit like what some Digimon with the digital hazard tend to do after they've been influenced thoroughly. Now, I think I have so many reasons for liking Phantomon a lot. It really is its own version of the Grim Reaper, but with some of its own specialties. And I'd say that these specialties it has are proof that it is a higher class of Ghost Digimon compared to Bakemon, that is. That's why when a person is possessed by Phantomon, they are usually in their last moments, and it comes upon them when they die completely. So let me continue highlighting some of the Digimon's power. With its death sight, it can cut and completely annihilate the opponent's soul to pieces. It can kill an opponent instantly with a word of death. It can call dark energy into the weighted chain end of its cycle and slams an opponent with it, and more importantly, Phantomon has powers of clairvoyance, meaning that it has the faculty of perceiving things or events in the future. That power comes from the ball with the symbol of an eye engraved on it. With it, it is able to perceive those who are close to death. This is extremely interesting, and I thought that the power would be unique to it, but it isn't. MYOTISMON also has the same symbol on its mask, and it also has the power of clairvoyance. That's why it is able to see far into the distance. I'm wondering if there are other Digimon with such symbol, and I am also wondering if these Digimon have the same power of clairvoyance. Anyway, remember when I said that Bakemon's shadow has partially become a black hole? Or do you remember when I said that Bakemon can pull enemies all the way to hell? Well, I am reminding you of these facts just to tell you that Bakemon is quite linked to alternate dimensions. Same goes with Phantomon, as it is said that the interior of the cloth which conceals its body leads to a separate dimension from the digital world. And I'm going to assume that its other variant called MetalPhantomon, who is also an ultimate, operates using an energy supply from the same other dimension of the digital world that Bakemon and Phantomon are making use of. Unfortunately, we were not given much information about these other dimensions. Maybe they straight up mean the dark area. But I think that with the Phantomon line, that it should be a bit more complicated than just the dark area. Anyway, MetalPhantomon is a Phantomon who fully mechanized its body. That's why it now also belongs to the Metal Empire family. Members of this field are generally mechanical Digimon. And with those mechanics, MetalPhantomon became this levitating robotic skeleton whose arms are composed of electricity connecting its hands and shoulders, and its red digicore, its soul, is now visible in its ribcage. In this form, it can give off a strange, eerie sound with its energy emission-shaped cycle, with which it can reap the souls directly, regardless of any kind of armor or shields the enemy carries. It can also release enormous energy to enlarge its sickle, to then fall upon the opponent as if it was starving for souls, and MetalPhantomon was also capable of reviving Death Xmon via a ritual. This is not a small feat. I'm talking about the Digimon D Cyber story. I talked about it in the big multiverse video, you should take a look, as Dexmon is a totally different life form that can't even be classified as a Digimon, and the truth is that you can't even really defeat it. I am mentioning this story because Dexmon fused with MetalPhantomon to make it become the strongest version of Dexmon ever, as it could now think and plan like MetalPhantomon, and the fusion almost caused the digital world to collapse. So, MetalPhantomon, even if its character profile in the Digimon Wiki or Wikimon isn't that big, let me tell you that it does have an impressive list of feats that we must take into account when evaluating this Digimon. Anyway, the link towards the multiverse video where I discussed the story of Digimon D Cyber is in the description box. Make sure to use the timestamps as the video is 11 hours. Now, on one side we have Phantomon and on the other side we have MetalPhantomon. Each of them has its own unique Mega Level Digivolution. We're going to save my favorite for the last. Though for that, we're going to explain MetalPhantomon's Digivolution first. So you see, MetalPhantomon really was taking the route of becoming the actual Grim Reaper. It began as a ghost, to suddenly become a mechanized ghost. When it digivolves, it becomes the cyborg Digimon Reapermon, who is designed as a robotic Grim Reaper. Though I'd say a very modernized Grim Reaper, as it even wields a gun on its right hand. We have discussed Reapermon before in the same video where we had discussed Snatchmon. But I'm happy to go over Reapermon again because back when that video was made, lots of information about Reapermon was missing. At least now we can make our little update, which I think I should also do for Snatchmon. Anyway, when it comes to Reapermon's origins, it is said that it is a fugitive Digimon who was born from the data of wanted criminals. This explains why it has a certain violence when it fights. It can grab the opponent with chains and decapitate them with its sickle. It can spin in the center of a fiery tornado amid which flaming skulls fly, and it can cause flames to erupt at the opponent's feet, and it would only be a matter of time before they are totally incinerated. The truth behind Reapermon is that while there is in fact a price on its head, it isn't distrusted, as it is also believed to be a bounty hunter itself, meaning that it is a villain born from the data of wanted criminals who is on the hunt for criminals. A strange villain which is reminding me of a group we have discussed before, namely the Three Musketeers. Remember? There are 3 Digimon in that group: MAGNAKIDEMON, BEELSTARMON, and GUNDRAMON. Both MAGNAKIDEMON and BEELSTARMON are born from the data of 2 real criminals. BEELSTARMON is based on the bandit queen Beelstar, and MAGNAKIDEMON is made from the data of Billy the Kid. We have gone over these Digimon and their origins in their own video. I recommend you go and watch them if you haven't already. I will put the link towards these videos in the description box. But I am mentioning them because I think it would be interesting to see an interaction between the group and Reapermon. They are all of them made from the data of wanted criminals after all. Heck, I think that it might even be interesting if Reapermon were to join their crew. What do you think? Let us get back to Phantomon. So as you know, among the many powers Bakemon possess, you have now learned that it has also the power of necromancy, at least through Soulmon. However, these powers were not as pronounced. Soulmon needed the hat to see its power enhanced, and then, once they digivolve to Phantomon, we can say that this small link they had with necromancy got suppressed again. However, Bakemon has now received a new Mega Level Digivolution that is entirely based on necromancy. And to be honest, this Mega Level has got to be among the many favorite Digimon I already have. I'm talking about Necromon, a ghost Digimon with its name, Necro, meaning dead body. Necromon is a top class Digimon that has absorbed data from a variety of ghosts and horrors on the net. And now, it became this apparition that resembles a sorcerer, a priest, a warrior. It's hard to describe what I'm seeing. However, what I can say is the following. Necromon is a bit like MYOTISMON, meaning that it absolutely hates light. Even if it has the extreme strength of manipulating the dead, it is extremely weak to light and holy powers. That's why it will never appear before a Digimon possessing such abilities. But then again, Necromon doesn't appear to be the type of Digimon who will make random apparitions. It is likely that Digimon with holy powers will come to its domain. Anyway, Necromon is also one among some Digimon who are much of a threat, and it would absolutely be ill-advised to try and confront it, especially when you don't have holy powers accompanying you. Let us discuss what it can do, shall we? It wields a gravestone-shaped sword called the Grey Blade, a vicious weapon that brings death to all who touch it despite it being completely blunt. And if it sees an opponent, it will plunge the sword into it, as if it were a real gravestone. When doing so, it pierces the Digimon's defenses and completely destroys its Digicore. You will never see Necromon coming for you, as it doesn't make sounds. It remains calm, exactly like a ghost. I noticed that the Grey Blade has an eye symbol just like the ball of Phantomon, meaning that it is possible that Necromon also has clairvoyance abilities, with which it can see far into the distance or into the future. Among its other powers is obviously the one of controlling the dead, necromancy. It is able to summon all of the ghost data it has absorbed from Digimon into a spiritual form that annihilates the enemy like a relentless army, no matter how much it may hurt itself in the process. This explains why you can see Bakemon and Soulmon around, but the truth is that Necromon could easily have defeated many other types of Digimon, and it would also become a part of its personal ghost army. Not only does it take great joy in absorbing the data of Digimon it defeats, but the data also gets recorded into the tome, meaning the book it carries, which by the way can be summoned like a ghost in battle. And I'm sure that the key to its strength would come from said book. It's probably via that it can summon all these Digimon, and as the book has many pages, I'm pretty sure it can do even more. And no one would be able to touch the book as it appears in ghost form. To top it off, I noticed something. You see the two symbols on its robe? They are inverted pentagram symbols. These are used to represent the head of Baphomet, and Baphomet is seen as a demonic idol. In other words, the inverted pentagram is the most notable and widespread symbol of Satanism. So this already says enough about Necromon's affiliation. I'd love to make a standalone video just on this Digimon, as I'd love to know a bit more about the other symbols and markings it has. I think I can see Sanskrit characters on the piece of parchment on its left arm. Also, above the inverted pentagram there are 3 eyes watching. Its book also has an eye. I really think that Necromon has got to be one of the most satanic Digimon in the franchise, which makes me want to dig even more. In fact, it's giving me a good idea for a future video. Hey guys, this is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Bakemon is definitely also among the underrated Digimon. I only saw it as a mere ghost and didn't really think much of it, but it proved that there is more than meets the eye. Bakemon now became one of the Digivolution line I adore most. There is so much potential. They have also left a good impact for ghost creatures in all franchises, to be honest. Necromon is looking extremely badass, and I really think that it is the type of Digimon that would send shockwaves if more were to know about its existence. So I'm really happy to have gone through it. How do you look at Bakemon? Do you like this line? How do you look at Necromon or the other Digimon in this line? How do you see an eventual other type of Mega Digivolution for Bakemon? Let me know in the comment section. Please don't forget to like the video for the YouTube algorithm, and please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. It helps the channel a lot. There is much more Digimon to come on this channel, and I don't know if you've noticed it, but I found a way to get organized and release more videos after each other. So please guys, give the channel some support and hold on, because many videos are about to come. See you all in the next video.